Hi, good evening, and welcome to St. Lucian's 2020. My name is Michelle Samuel, and I will be your lead host for this morning session. So, just to get to know a little bit about you are here, this particular event is an information sent by SLUDTERA. SLUDTERA is a private social enterprise working with youth entrepreneurs. We are based right here in St. Lucia, and we work alongside units of government, educational institutions, other entrepreneurs to help foster economic growth through our various platforms and programs. It's different because it is geared towards young entrepreneurs and young change makers, young leaders, potential leaders, or leaders that are all making a difference in their various that are either unsung, unheard of, or maybe very well heard of, but need another platform to expand their reach and to gain the type of support that they need in order to further their cause. And if there are some breakthrough innovations that are becoming solutions to the challenges that we face every single day, then this is your opportunity to reach borders beyond the limitations and get the type of support that you're looking for. And for those who are here this morning, I would like to thank you for joining us on YouTube and on Twitter, wherever you are watching, wherever you are listening. I invite you to share this link with your contacts and ensure that as many people as possible join in on this particular event that we're having this morning. I do have a few special guests that and sharing some more information about YLAI. And I've gotten that a lot. What is YLAI? And YLAI is an acronym for the Young Leaders of the Americas Initiative. And please take that down because that I promise. The Young Leaders of the and you're going to understand the impact that this program has had, not only on the persons who you'll be hearing about, but also you will understand what that impact has been like from the inside, behind the scenes, from the project or program coordinators who will be joining me very shortly. So again, my name is Michelle Samuel and welcome this morning. Before we go any further, I would just like to say thank you to my colleagues and my contacts who have agreed to not only come on board with me to promote, but to also be an advocate for youth innovation and change makers. Because of you, this event is being streamed and there are many joining us. So again, I say thank you. So what we're going to do right now, I'm going to introduce myself and then we're going to move into introductions from our guests who will be joining us. So in terms of my background, I initially started my business, which was initially an employment agency. And I applied for the Young Leaders of the Americas initiative in 2017. I found out about it through an article that was here. And when I read it, I thought it was too good to be true because of all of the benefits that were attached to it. Several features, several aspects about the program was just basically highlighting and outlining every single issue that I was facing in my business, of a challenge that I was facing, and how could I address those challenges. And this program attended or promised to do exactly that. And so I applied, not knowing that I would have been selected. And after applying, a bit of a hiatus went on for a couple of weeks, and I completely forgot about the initiative until I decided one day to open up my email on my mobile phone. And lo and behold, I see this acceptance email, and I screamed right then and there, the office space where I was in the lobby. And that scream alerted the attention of the receptionist and the supervisor and the other staff members who were there, because they thought something had gone wrong. And when they came out, I told them what had happened to me. My prayers were answered, and I right then and there I shared this opportunity and this good news with them, and they congratulated me. And since hearing about this, first people have been following this program. And I'm speaking of the staff and management of the National ICT Center. They have been following the program as well, and have also been encouraging their own contacts to apply to the program because of the information that I shared with them on that fateful morning. And 2017 was a wonderful experience for me. Of course, you'll get to know a little bit more about what I experienced when we have our conversations a little later. So, what I want to tell you is that it is, yes, it is too good to be true because it's a reality. And why you can believe it? Because I lived it. I am a testimony of what the program has done and what can do for you. So, what I would like to do now is to bring on my guests, and they are from IREX, the actual organizers of the Young Leaders of the Americas initiative. And my guests join me are Mr. Ian McInturf and Miss Paulina. So I will be having them come on camera with me so that they can briefly introduce themselves. And then we'll dive straight into what YLAI is. And then, of course, what can you hope to expect from the program? So I will ask Ian and Paulina to join me on camera. Hi, Ian. Hi, Paulina. How are you both doing today?
We're doing well, thank you. Really appreciate you having us here today. Just a heads up, our office is having some technical difficulties with internet, so it seems to be all resolved now. But just for your precaution, there might be some drops. But we're very excited to be here today and talk to you all.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the invite. I'm Paulina Corrales, also very excited to be here, share more about YLAI.
It's a global thing.
And yeah, I'm very excited to join. Thank you, Michelle, for the invitation.
Excellent. So those of you watching us, again, we would like to ask you to please share this link with as many people as you can, specifically with persons who are either 25 to 35 years and over, with a high interest in, of course, expanding their business reach and, of course, leadership opportunities and extending or learning beyond the market of St. Lucia and for the US market specifically. We're looking at entrepreneurs, executives of youth groups. We're asking you to share this with social entrepreneurs as well. And even persons who entrepreneurship and leadership in our communities, please share this link with them so that this opportunity can be shared. So right away, I'm going to allow Ian and Pauline the opportunity to share with you what the YLAI program is about. And after their presentation, we're going to dive into, of course, the individualities of what can be expected. And then, of course, we will address your questions as they appear on screen. So, Ian, the floor.
Sure, I'll take it over from here. Can you guys hear me well?
I can hear you, Paulina.
All right, perfect. Thank you. All right. So what is YLAI? YLAI brings
Yes, 200... I can hear you from my end.
Perfect. Thank you. YLAI brings 280 fellows from Canada, Latin America, and the Caribbean to the US for a 4-week practicum in the US. We do 1 week of orientation and then 4 weeks of placement, professional placement, and then 1 week in Washington, D.C. for closing forum. So a total of 6 weeks, fellows from the ages of 25 to 35 are going to be in the US, all entrepreneurs, hosted in organizations here in the US that focus on marketing, design. Basically, in the application, we find out what fellows are working on, what sector they're in, and we place them and match them with someone that is a best fit for them. Very tailored, very specific to each person. Before that, let me take a step back. Before that, there's a hybrid portion of the fellowship, which is asynchronous online curriculum course that is designed by our IREX team in collaboration with ASU, Arizona State University, where they focus on leadership, they focus on more entrepreneurial skills. So one of the requirements for an applicant is that their business must be 2 years or older. And why do we ask this? We ask this because we want someone that has experience in the sector. That we want someone that's going to be able to collaborate with their host organization, and it be a mutual exchange where the host gives and the fellow gives. Once in the U.S., the placement takes place. And then once a fellow returns, we always say, once a YLAI fellow, always a YLAI fellow, always part of the family. There are many opportunities for alumni. I'm sure Michelle can talk to that. There are many opportunities for your host also to travel to your host country. There's a competitive application for that as well. And then there are many, many opportunities that an alumni can apply to. That's in a nutshell what YLAI is. I'll continue on with what were our recruiting requirements. Or Ian, do you want to talk about recruitment requirements?
Yeah, sure. I can go ahead and speak on that. So as Paulina kind of mentioned, we are recruiting entrepreneurs between the ages of 25 to 35 years old to apply to our program. The application launched just last week and will be open for the next 3 weeks until February 15th. And what we're looking for in potential candidates is, one, there's the requirement to be within that age group, but then also you have to be able to speak English at a professional level. And that's a really important aspect of the program, because the entire program is conducted in English. And when we place fellows with host organizations here in the United States, all of that collaboration has to be in English. And so I know there are a lot of questions around that. During the application process, it's all self-reporting. You can just give us a general understanding of, where your English levels are, and then that'll be included in the evaluation of your application. We have, worked with a selection committee that will be helping us review all these applications. And from there, after that, if you are selected as a semifinalist, you will be notified, and then you will go and conduct an interview, either in person or virtually in coordination with the consulate or embassy from your region or country. And then they'll give more of a conversation, and it's a very quick interview of just a couple of minutes, but it'll be conducted in English, and that's where we'll actually understand your English level. And yeah, so generally speaking, if you're a member of the Western Hemisphere, anywhere in Latin America, the Caribbean, or Canada, you're most likely part of our YLAI eligible countries. And you can refer to our website for more details on your country and whether or not your country is included in our program. But yeah, essentially, we really encourage you all to apply. It doesn't hurt to submit an application, and we really encourage you to do so. And no matter where you are within your business, well, actually, one other thing I forgot to mention is your business has to be running successfully for 2 years, or officially established as an organization with the proper channels within your own governments. And that way we can ensure that we're bringing a fully formed organization to the U.S. to partner with our fully formed organizations. But aside from that, no matter where your company is, whether you're experiencing issues with like capital or networking, or you just aren't as far along as you'd like to be, don't let that hold you back from applying. We receive applications at very different stages of all startups, to like fully established long-term organizations. So we really are encouraging everyone to apply that is eligible. And again, Paulina added the information about the application closing. And then after this, I'll go ahead and submit a link for you guys to find that application and more information on the fellowship.
Yeah, thank Ian and Paulina for sharing this information with us. Sides that we can address this particular program. One, from the side of someone has never heard about it and has probably from someone like me who what I also several changes have happened, of course, since 2017. That was eons ago. But at least the idea is the same. So in terms of the differences, in the program, with regards to my experience in 2017, there was some preparatory work done, a few weeks leading up to going to Barbados to actually get that J1 visa. And that is something that some persons have heard about previously. What they may be familiar with is the tourist visa or the student visa. But the J1 visa is a very special visa that persons tend to sometimes confuse with the more permanent visas. So the visa, can you give us an idea as to what that really is and how is that different from the regular visa that we would typically go for?
Yeah, that's a great question, Michelle. So all fellows, two things we forgot to mention. This is a fully funded State Department program. So IREX and the State Department take care of everything. Fellows will be given their flight from St. Lucia to the U.S., flight from the U.S. back to St. Lucia. Fellows will be giving housing for the entire time they're here in the U.S. Fellows will be giving a basic healthcare plan to cover any medical issues while they're here. And fellows will also receive a stipend while they're here. How does the J1 visa process look? Every single fellow that comes to the United States on YLAI must apply for the J1 visa to enter the US. Why? All fellows will be working with a host organization. So many people are like, oh, I have a tourist visa. Can I use that? Unfortunately, you cannot because you will be working with the US host organization. Therefore, you'll need a J1 visa. And since it's a State Department funded program, that's the visa that is required for this program. So everyone must apply for the visa. Flights to Barbados are also covered by IREX. So if you need to fly to Barbados to get your J1 visa interview, IREX will take care of that. Once you have your J1 visa, you will enter the US with your DS 2019 or certificate of eligibility. That is a very important document that you must keep at all times. It's basically like saying what is your status while you're in the United States. That's basically the process of the J1 visa. So all in all, every single fellow that comes to the US must have their J1 visa.
Thank you so much, Paulina, from shedding for clarifications may have about the tourist visa, student visa, and of course the J1 visa. Another question, the application that of course we would of course want our St. Lucian public to know and understand is the eligibility. So there is an eligibility requirement with regards to the J1 visa. what does it mean when you say you must be eligible to receive a J1 visa? What does that really say?
Yeah. So to be eligible to receive a J1 visa, as Ian mentioned, so you, and this is part of the program as well. You must speak English to come to the U.S. and partake in the program specifically. Also, that's what they're looking for when they're giving you the visa. So, are you going to be able to participate and actually uh, collaborate with your host? Um, they're also looking for obviously a valid passport. And then when we look at more, and this is like I'm saying, when the consulate looks, I can't speak more for what the consulate is going to be looking for, but what I've seen in the past is obviously a valid passport, and then that you can demonstrate you're going to go back to your home country to give back for 2 years. So what you learned here, so there's a rule where you must go back to your home country for 2 years to implement or give back to your community what you've learned while you were here. So the J1 visa, um, that is something they're looking for. You're going to return to your country and you're going to give back for those 2 years. With that, you are allowed to travel, but uh, you must be a resident of your country for the next 2 years. But that does not exclude traveling. So you can travel if you have that tourist visa, but you should not leave your country to live somewhere else within the 2 year period after the program. That's one of the biggest things they're looking for.
I think it's very important that you actually highlighted that aspect, because of course, in life things change with people every single day. When issues present themselves, and people are receiving opportunities nowadays where you can travel to other countries and then live and work. For example, there's a big promotion here in St. Lucia where persons are being, so let's say that, for example. So if, let's say, I was to apply to the program and were to be accepted and participate in the fellowship and then return to St. Lucia. So what in fact you're saying is that I should remain in St. Lucia for that 2 year period to at least implement what I would have learned in the fellowship, before I can consider relocating to Canada for work, let's say, for example. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yes. So there is a 2 year requirement, and that 2 year requirement is with the the whole idea behind it is that you're giving back to your community what basically the State Department has given you while you came here. So you collaborated with the host organization, and they also have the opportunity to go to St. Lucia to implement a project with for 2 weeks over there, and then you're going to stay there and implement or give back to your community for the 2 years. With the exception, this does not mean you cannot leave the country. You can leave the country. You could travel, but what they expect is that you don't leave like to live somewhere else within those 2 years.
Excellent. Thank you for clarifying. And of course, that is totally understandable. And participated in the fellowship was what I understood as well. And because of all the information and material and the expertise bring back to your country and then implement, the country actually, when you look at it that way. And I think that is one of the greatest aspects of the program, people who want to make a contribution to their country and their economy. So that's definitely of the highlights of the program that I really did love, the giving back aspect. And in relation, of course, to the visas and the passports. Let's say, for example, we do have persons who have passports, but the passports are expired, for example. What would be the procedure for persons with expired passports? Would they be given the opportunity to renew, or would they not be eligible because of that expired passport?
Yeah. One last thing to close off the other that just came to mind. You could see yourself when you return to your home country as a YLAI ambassador. For situations like this during recruitment, the team will most likely reach out to alumni and say, how can you help us recruit more applicants, fellows from St. Lucia? So you could definitely see yourself as a YLAI ambassador, and those 2 years are very, very crucial because you just left the program, you have it very fresh in your mind. So that's also another huge plus. And then to your second question, Michelle, applicants are notified, I want to say 6 to 7 months before we actually process their DS 2019s, which is the document we send over to the consulate in their home country. So there is an opportunity, if you get accepted and you see your passport is expired, my advice would be to renew it as soon as possible. But you will have at least 6 months, if not a bit more. So if you do have an expired passport and you are accepted, there's definitely an opportunity to renew your passport. We've seen that a lot in the past. We're seeing it now. So my answer to that is apply, and if you're accepted, you can definitely renew your passport and you'll have time.
Okay, thank you so much, Paulina, for answering that question. Okay, so we're looking at traveling to Barbados, and this is specific for St. Lucians, of course. So we're traveling to Barbados to get this J1 visa. And, you know, there's this interview process that, of course, everybody needs to go through. So after this J1 visa is acquired, and we return back to the home country, what exactly, you know, should we be doing, you know, to prepare ourselves, you know, the next step, which is the travel to the US? You know, how should we prepare? Because of course, we're talking about people who are running their businesses, people who are their agencies or their organizations, and they will be away for quite some time. What suggestions would you give their businesses behind, and then
We actually had a Q&A session earlier this week, and we got some great advice from our alumni because we asked them that question as well. What did they do to leave their business for 4 weeks? And the advice they gave was to delegate. That's the biggest thing we heard from the three of them. We had 3 alumni panels. We asked them that same question, and they all said to delegate. No matter how big or how small your company is, while you're in the US, you want to take as much advantage of everything you have here while you're here. It's only 4 weeks while that you're here, but 4 weeks back home of you not being in your business is a lot of time. So you have to think of like the both sides, the flip end. So the advice the fellows gave, or the alumni gave, was delegate. And they said, what I heard from them was, it's really hard to delegate as an entrepreneur. It's your business. You know how everything runs, but it's not possible to be here and there. So their biggest word of advice or word of wisdom was to delegate and to not be afraid to let go a little bit. And I think that's very hard for entrepreneurs. To understand you're going to be here. It's going to be a very hectic, and a lot's going to be going on in those 4 weeks. So I think, yeah, delegate and don't be scared to step away for a bit, knowing that you've delegated and left it in good hands. Ian, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I just totally agree with everything you're saying. Like during the fellowship, for like how it's kind of structured is like on both ends, there's a week like an orientation, which will require like a majority of your time with travel, and a number of sessions that we host, as well as at the end of the fellowship with closing forum. There's a lot going on there as well. But during the actual placement portion, the middle 4 weeks of the placement, essentially you can expect that you'll be working or like busy 40 to like 50 hours during your week. And so like Monday through Thursday, you'll be at your fellowship placement organization for about 8 hours a day. So there is time in the evenings that's yours. You also have like weekends to choose. Like you can do whatever you want with those if you plan to, like, if you need to work or if you want to like travel around the United States, there's opportunities to do that. You can't travel internationally during the program, but yeah, I think it's just really important to highlight Paulina's point that when you're here for the fellowship, you've put a lot of effort into, you know, taking time away from your organization, traveling here, and you really want to make that count. And the best way that you can do so is really by buying into the program and spending all of your time and effort while here during that program on all the activities and networking that you'll be doing here. Kind of think about it, I would say, as, you know, as an opportunity to expand your business versus like a time away from your business. But yeah, so that's all essentially the advice I would give.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Ian, Paulina. And let me just shed some light on that from the perspective of a professional fellow in terms of how I prepared for my departure. I was the only one running my business at the time. So basically, sole proprietorship. I had no one to delegate to. So in the case of persons who were in my position, being the only one behind your business, I took it on the road with me. That was what my approach was. Agency. What I did was I sort of included my participation as part of what I was doing with my job. So that persons understood the correlation between what I was going to do and what I was doing here locally in St. Lucia. So I documented everything in terms of my travel and the persons that I connected with and the people that I had planned to connect with when I went to the opening session, for example. Because what I did was that I studied the profiles and the backgrounds of the other fellows within the region that was in line with what I was doing within my business. And my goal was to connect with them and find out what they were doing and how they were doing it well. How they were solving the challenges. And what I did was that as I looked at, this information, so that my plan was to implement those solutions when I came back, to the workplace and came back home. So all of those clients that I would have been dealing with back home, knowing that I would not have been physically present, knew that I was going to learn something to make the business better for them. So in that way, they felt that they were taking the journey with me because I shared that experience. And they felt that it was something exceptional that I was doing, because people don't normally share their experiences with persons, especially when it's in a professional manner. But if you do it in a very transparent way to allow your clients to see that you're doing this to ensure that the business is better for them so that they can experience better from you, they appreciate that. They really do. And that was my approach to to preparing for the business, is that I took my clients and I took my potential customers on that journey with me so that they saw what it is that I was doing, just so that I can be better for them. In the case of persons who maybe have a brick and mortar or storefront, and you would maybe have to, close up shop for that period of time, my advice to you would be to some ways to transpose your business, whatever aspects of it that you can do, to online. So at least you can track things that way. You can maintain communication with your clients virtually via video meetings or whatnot, and letting them know that your business is just closed temporarily, for that period of time, but you are maintaining communication with them so it's not broken. So these are just two suggestions that I can share with persons who are the sole owners of their business. It is what you call an investment into the time and effort that you're putting into the learning and the training that you're going to be doing, and that exchange that you're going to be experiencing in, because your business will benefit at the end of the day. what you're going to learn and experience will benefit your business, and by in fact will benefit your end user, which is your customer. So if you understand that your steps to your business, so a bit of investment is the best approach to actually use for preparing for that trip. So in terms of the fellowship itself, Paulina and Ian, we are tailoring this event specific to St. Lucians. But can you tell us approximately how many other people, from the region are we expected to meet? If I was one of those persons selected for the program, I mean, is it just going to be a few people from my region? Am I only going to see people who speak English? Can you give us an idea as to the diversity of persons that we can meet and collaborate with in this fellowship?
Yeah, I can definitely speak to that. The focus of our program, right? We have 280 fellows from across the Western Hemisphere. Not only are we looking at the number of countries involved, I want to say it's 35 to 40. I think it's 37. But essentially, we try through our selection process, in coordination with the embassies based in these countries and regions. We try to replicate the amount of incredible diversity from across the Western Hemisphere in our program. So we work directly with embassies, in Barbados to with a lot of our Caribbean nations, to I guess try and find the fellows that are not only successful and great candidates, but those who reflect the diversity, of St. Lucia, and that sort of thing. One of the areas that we noticed during previous cycles and how we have looked at the data of the diversity areas is that a lot of people come from capital cities, which understandably some business is conducted there, in certain areas that we get a lot of applicants because they're able to speak English and are a little bit more aware of this network. But we're really trying to expand into rural populations, people involved with agriculture, even we don't any industry is definitely encouraged to apply, because we're looking to expand our presence in your region and your presence in our region. And so we're members of LGBTQIA plus are highly encouraged to apply. People who have a mental or physical disability, we have accommodation support in a whole program that for us to ensure that fellows are supported during the fellowship, no matter who they are or where they come from. So we really want to encourage everyone from all backgrounds and different upbringings to apply to this program, because we want to provide this opportunity to as many people as possible and really replicate the diversity of all of the nations across the Western Hemisphere in our program.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ian, for sharing that. Because of course, one thing that we can speak to, of course, is those persons who are coming from different backgrounds, wondering, do I qualify, or is this really for me? And understanding that this is a program that is tailored specifically to these types of persons, where we call the underserved communities or the underprivileged communities. We definitely want to highlight those communities and say, hey, you guys are important too, and this is for you. So we definitely, of course, advising all of those who fall under these categories to please take a look, listen, this is for you. But let's take a little bit
Actually, Michelle, can I say
what
something
it really is when you say
sorry. Yeah. It
oh,
also
sorry,
talking
just
about,
lost you there for a minute. Yeah.
oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I wanted you were highlighting underprivileged communities and that sort of thing, and we've actually had a lot of talks about that as a team internally recently. And like, it's not just that we want to, provide an opportunity for those who are from underprivileged backgrounds, but we don't even want to focus too much on that part of their identity. We really want to focus more on, everyone has something to bring to the table. And we really just want to make sure that we're highlighting the capabilities, no matter the background that anyone has. And, the aspiring individual is what we're really focused on. So we really hope that, we're not targeting any people based off of like how successful your business has been, like for like financially or anything like that. We really just want to get to know about you and your story, and what's your vision and how can we support that as part of the program.
And that is excellent. You mentioned a word that really resonates with a lot of St. Lucians here, and that word is support. Now, when looking at support in terms of programs, so you mentioned support in terms of during the cost of the trip, to Barbados to get the J1 visa. You spoke about support in terms of getting to the US. But let's talk about the support during the fellowship. What type of support, can people expect to get? Because of course, with every person who has a business or is running a business, there is a specific need that they have and they want to learn. Okay, there's a specific challenge that they're experiencing in their business. What type of support will they be given in relation to that challenge that they would have highlighted in their application?
Yeah. I mean, there's a number of ways that we support during different stages of the fellowship. Right when curriculum begins, that's the first stage of like the remote curriculum. That's the first stage of the actual fellowship that fellows are participating in. And our team is constantly, communicating with fellows on a regular basis to make sure that they can, operate on their own, giving them the tools necessary. And maintaining constant communication if they have any issues with like they don't understand one of the assignments or like a technical difficulty. I am having issues like connecting to my profile and stuff like that. At this stage of the program, that's where you'll have an IREX point of contact, where it's an individual member of our team who works directly with fellows to make sure that curriculum's going well, all their pre-arrival documents are submitted, and just making sure that they have a face that they can go to and get to know as a member of our team for that kind of support. And then during the fellowship, or I guess also during the curriculum time, our team is working direct. We have a whole team that are involved with matching. So taking the business profiles that you all will provide us, or all applicants and selected finalists, will provide us, and we'll work directly based off of kind of a profile video about your business that is kind of like a pitch about who you are, and we'll provide that to a number of different organizations in 20 different cities across the US to make sure that we find the best business and scenario for you. And so there's support that's kind of going on behind the scenes while directing, helping support like directly with the IREX point of contact. And then during the actual in-person portion of the fellowship, during arrival, our workshop, during orientation, for the in-person portion, as well as at the end of closing forum, you'll see us. We'll be there with you every step of the way, guiding you from the airport to the hotel, making sure that everything's taken care of. And then when you actually fly out to the 20 cities from orientation until closing forum, we have what are called cohort ambassadors. They work with us, our team. We're actually having an orientation with them this week here in office in DC. So that's been great, kind of, collaborating with them, talking about how we can support our fellows in person. They're partnering members of our team, and they're from all those 20 cities. So they really know the cities and how you can get around with public transportation, and pointing out the cool, fun spots to experience the culture in all of these different cities, as well as helping supply connections to other members and placement opportunities within that community. And so, and then like at the same time, they work directly with your IREX advisor. And there's constant communication with fellows throughout the entire program. And so, yeah, it's very hands-on. And, you know, we do what we can as a team and with our partners to ensure that, you know, all these fellows are entrepreneurs and, you know, adults and, you know, independent in their own right. We just want to give them the tools for them to have a successful fellowship, and really run with it and kind of make it their own.
Ian. And again, for those of you who just joining us, you're watching St. Lucians for YLAI 24, YLAI being the Young Leaders of the Americas Initiative. It is a U.S. Department of State fully funded initiative for young persons between the ages of 25 to 35 years of age, with, of course, a track record of showing that you are been operating your business for at least 2 years. So let's go back to the conversation in terms of you've already and the learning that takes place. Now let's take a look at what you mean by exchange, because again, some persons may have the impression that they're just going to learn. So there's only just a one way happening here. But understand what fellowship means. The exchange means there's two ways about it. So you're not just learning, you're also sharing what you know, and you're sharing your own, you're adding your own value to your placement company. In terms of my experience, I was placed with the Full Employment Council, or FEC, out in Kansas City. And what I really appreciated about that exchange is that I was asked what type of work that I was doing, what type of experience do I have, what type of clients do I deal with, and what would I like to learn. And then, of course, in working with my supervisor, Mr. Daniel Smith, who I am still in contact with, I will say, he's actually one of my mentors. And what we did was that he basically checked off everything that I had told him that I wanted to experience and to learn from my business. And he ensured that I was placed in situations where I could learn exactly what it is that I was looking for, but not in the same thing. I would also have to apply myself to what it is that I was asking for. So this is where the exchange comes in. And also, when you are working alongside your placement host, whoever your supervisor or superior is, they also want to know what you have to offer. You know, what in terms of operations or the ways of doing things back in St. Lucia, can you contribute to that placement host? The same way that you are learning how the US culture and how the professional work environment is handled in the US, you also have information to share. So it's not one-sided, it is both ways. So that's where the fellowship comes in. You learn and you share. And it's basically something where you have a relationship between companies, and that is where the potential partnership can develop. And this is something that I definitely know will interest a lot of people listening and watching in terms of potential partnerships. So can you speak to what the scope to potential partner with a US-based company that a placement host can be? What's the scope of that, and how real is that in terms of a reality for persons looking for US partnerships?
Yeah. So Paulina kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, and I've talked a little bit about matching, but essentially, to get into the nuts and bolts of it, fellows will, again, like they'll provide us a business profile, some, you know, other materials about them and their organization. And then that way we take it on as our team. The fellows don't have to do anything. We make all of the placements for you, and take on that responsibility. And what we do is we use that information and work with our networks and our cohort ambassadors in one of the 20 cities. And we try to find, you know, the best opportunity that we can find for a fellow. It's very tailored, individualized to each one of the 280 fellows, a different, you know, member of our team has a portfolio of a certain amount of fellows, and works directly with a number of organizations that we've worked with in the past, that have been excellent hosts, and continue to collaborate with their fellows. Or if there's, if it's someone that's new, like someone who has a new idea, we try to go out and find, an organization that, it's never going to be, an exact replica of, the unique ideas that are like coming into our program. But we try to find the best opportunity for learning, going both ways, as you mentioned, Michelle. When we reach out to these fellow placement organizations or potential fellow placement organizations, we really want to make sure that they understand that this is a partnership. It's not an internship. All of you have, your own businesses that are established, within your own, communities that look like very different from the ones that the U.S. organization may or may not be like operating in. And so this is a two-way street. It's a partnership. And we really want to make sure that, like, through various tools that we provide fellows, like at the collaboration plan at the beginning of the fellowship, before you arrive to the U.S., you'll actually be in contact with your fellowship placement organization, and kind of come up with mutual goals, to create a mutually beneficial relationship, in what you want to achieve throughout the fellowship together. And both groups kind of provide like their individual goals, what they can get out of it, and then they share ideas on like how, like, do we want to structure this partnership, and really make sure that like they're both benefiting from it. And then beyond that, when we get into, once you become an alumni of the program, we're really starting to expand that continued collaboration. So we have an outbound exchange program going on right now for a number of our applicants, like that were alumni, who applied for grant funding by the program to have the U.S. host organization travel to the fellows country, and make sure that we can continue those partnerships and continue to support our fellows beyond the actual fellowship cohort they're part of. So again, it's a very mutually beneficial relationship is the goal at the end of the day. I don't know if there's anything to add, Paulina.
Excellent, Ian. Thank you so much for sharing that. And let me just say, those of you who are watching, of my experience. So if you have to put this into experience that starts with preparation, then going into the opening ceremony, get to meet with everybody, who is selected. And there's over 200 of you, from the Western Hemisphere. And then traveling, some persons would be remaining within that same city, of course, and others would be traveling to other cities outside of your opening ceremony, right, in Tempe. So in terms of where you could go, just think of it as a prize or a surprise wrapped in a bow. Just think of it like that. You, for the most part, you don't really know where you're gonna get placed until you get that announcement. So just think of it as a surprise, wrapped and gifted to you by IREX. And what's going to happen is that when you are then basically welcomed as a member of the team at your placement host, where you would be for the next 4 weeks. And you would be part of that staff. Think of it that way. But you remember, you're not interning, you are learning, and you're also exchanging. It's a fellowship. And in that fellowship, there, of course, has to be set goals that you want to achieve within a time frame. So, of course, structure, organize what you want your plan to be, and ensure that you do it in a very timely manner. Because that is one thing I learned about the US culture. Time is money. Okay, time is money. And Ian and Paulina, I want to write that we St. Lucians have a very bad habit of not being on time. That is something that we have a bad habit about. And I am going to say that we need to train anybody who is selected for this program. You need to in the US culture. So when you have to be at work for 8 a.m., they're not saying 8:30. They're not saying 9 a.m. You should be at work on before the doors open for 8. That's what they're saying. So this is the type of routine that you would have to get accustomed to for that 4-week period, and understand that you are part and parcel of that organization for that period of time. And if you have a very good impression, if you make a very good impression with your placement host, there are so many possibilities that could happen thereafter. And Ian and Paulina alluded to this earlier when they spoke about the exchange. And I'm talking about the post exchange. So after you are complete with your fellowship, there is that opportunity for your host to then come to your country and then spend time with you as well within your business, within your environment, where you now have the opportunity to do what your host did for you when you were in the US. And not only that, in that structure and that plan that you strategize together, you will be able to implement a program, workshop that the two of you here in St. Lucia. And this is where the opportunity is what they're alluding to. This opportunity is available to you. Now, let me just say it's very competitive. So, not everyone who applies will get that opportunity. But if you strategize together with your placement host and it's very convincing, and the outcome is very beneficial to the end users, then you already have a plus. That's a plus. That's an advantage for you. So this is why we're advising you to strategize carefully. And of course, up you have learned. And be sure that when you come back, you're not just coming back as the person that you left. You're coming back a whole new you. Think of it that way, a whole new you. And I can speak to that for myself. So Paulina and Ian, let's go into after, the fellowship. So after these great 4 weeks, of learning and exchange has basically passed, what happens next, in terms of the closing ceremony? What happens during the period of time when they all come back together after their placement?
Yeah. Closing forum is a really cool experience. You know, when you join the fellowship, you get to know like very closely a lot of the people who are from your own country or region, and then throughout the fellowship, you really get to know the other fellows who are in those cohort cities with you really well. Some of the bonds that are created during the fellowship are really remarkable, and kind of seeing that all come back to fruition and seeing all 280 fellows coming back together into the same room in closing forum is really like the energy's palpable. Everyone's excited. And then like by the end of closing forum, when everyone's about to go home, everyone's in tears. So it's really a kind of a moving, I guess, workshop. So it really is a workshop, but it really getting to hear the experiences of fellows during the fellowship is excellent. There's a bunch of talks that are done by members of the Department of State come in and speak and introduce themselves and kind of give their expertise as YLAI program, as Michelle mentions, like being a YLAI ambassador moving forward and taking everything that you learned throughout the fellowship beyond back into your countries and implementing all that you learned to improve your organizations and your communities. But yeah, like the kind of nuts and bolts though, like there's a number of talks that we have special guests, like leading entrepreneurs and our partners come and kind of talk about their experiences, keynote speakers, all of that. And then also something that we've been doing a lot more of and that a lot of fellows have responded well to is having the fellows be able to, give their own expertise at closing forum, kind of not just telling us what you learned about the fellowship, but like, if I'm involved in like sustainable energy, like I want to share my research, or like these are some like good communication skills that I've learned and I want to give a talk on it and kind of share. There's a lot of different activities and events that are going on, a lot of like meals shared together, and yeah, it's really awesome. I remember there's Luis Villaherrera from El Salvador was speaking in our Q&A a few days ago. And he was talking about like that one moment that from the fellowship that stood out to him. And he was talking about at closing forum, we were doing like this group activity, which is really interactive, everyone moving around. And by the end, everyone like lifted him up on a chair and we're like, celebrating him, even though everyone else in the room technically lost. So it was really cool to see, all the support from all the fellows while, being in a very productive environment and continuing to learn during closing forum.
Actually, the moment you're talking about is the picture right behind us.
Oh, yeah.
They're picking him up.
That's
I would
right.
also.
I was just about to mention that.
Yeah, it's the picture right behind us, our faces. I was going to also mention, I'm not sure if this existed in 2017, Michelle, but we also, so all of our fellows have to produce a solution pitch. So this starts from curriculum. They start preparing for their solution pitch. It's a 90-second TED Talk, and they talk about their business challenge and how during the fellowship they tackle that business challenge and then their solution and what it's going to look like in the future in their home country. So we call it the solution pitch, a 90-second TED Talk, and the whole fellowship. So it starts from curriculum when there's all fellows are still in country. They prep for it. What is solution pitch? We go through explaining what it is, preparing, getting into mini groups, and throughout the fellowship, every single Friday, the cohort ambassadors will bring in someone to prepare and to get fellows ready for solution pitches. The last week of the fellowship, while they're still in their host, they'll submit solution pitches and it'll go through our first round of judges. And then we'll come down to our top 10. Our top 10 will then present at closing forum. So we have this large event where the 10 speakers present their solution pitch, and then the judges reevaluate. And it's like the last day, it's the solution pitch winners announced. So it's something everyone looks forward to, a culmination. We also have a networking event. We really strive for closing forum to be networking, a lot of networking, preparing fellows to transition to alumni, how they can support YLAI, how they can become YLAI ambassadors in their home country, how they can support recruitment, basically everything that goes into what is a YLAI alumni, and then the solution pitch. And then as Ian mentioned, we do bring in speakers from the State Department, entrepreneurs. We have alumni panels as well. So we really try to make closing forum a culmination, celebration, and also bringing those moments so that fellows can network and continue their collaboration once they leave the U.S.
In a question, Paulina, in 2017, it wasn't called a solution, basically called a pitch. And it was something where everyone had to participate in. And what we would do is we would practice within our hubs and our thing. And the 10 best would be selected. And then from that 10 best at the closing forum, that 10 best, would then the stage. And the idea was that the top 3 would receive checks for their businesses so that they can utilize for their business, because you get to learn from the workshop to build our presentations. And the practice really helps to understand who the audience is. And that's one of the key things in terms of a pitch, understanding who your audience is and the message that you want to convey. And that particular activity helped me in terms of my public speaking, because and this participation, this activity really did help bring out the inner problem solver in me, to the point where I now advocate for the YLAI program on a yearly basis. Every single year when the applications are open, I go into overdrive mode. Okay, Michelle, it's time to work. Let's recruit for the program. And in doing so, of course, which is St. Lucian's for All initiative that I created, I also piggybacked on one of the programs that was developed by the YLAI network called Find Your Voice. And I actually tailored that course into workers who maybe wanted to do a little bit of practice work before they go to their fellowship. They can do the Find Your Voice course. So that was something that I felt was necessary and would have added value to participating. But we do have some differences, of course, when IREX took it over, because at the time it was Meridian International Center who organized the program. So in terms of how IREX does it, I can see the difference actually has a little bit more benefit because of the idea of inclusion. Because it's one thing to say, hey, that there's so many problems in the community, opportunity for you to get on the ball and hang away at it, so that you can become the leader that you were meant to be. So I really love the way that IREX has tailored the pitch to a solution pitch. I really love that that new concept. I do.
Thank you, Michelle.
Okay, we do have so a few questions coming into the chat, which I will of course start addressing to of course bring up, because it's not always going to be positives for everyone who applies. And unfortunately, not everyone will be accepted. And that is the hard and fast truth, unfortunately. I wish everybody, who applied would be accepted. Unfortunately, that is not the case. So aside from, you have to be between the ages of 25 to 35, and you have to at least be operating, or have a track record of 2 years experience in running your business, fall short of them. Are they forgotten, or are they redirected to another program where they may be eligible? you know um and if they don't make it this year, for 2024, can they reapply? These are the types of questions that I would like to
So I think you were cutting out, but I'm gonna repeat your question and you can let me know if this is what you asked. So you're asking if someone that applies that does not get accepted can reapply, and if we can redirect them to other programs, correct?
Yeah, so if someone applies for 2024, is not picked, that's the first scenario. Can they reapply? And how many times can they reapply, before they get accepted? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. If you are not accepted and you are still eligible in the following year, you can reapply actually as many times as you want. We actually have a case where I know a fellow from last cohort applied 3 times, and the fourth or the third time is when he got accepted. So I think that goes to show, like, he was not giving up. He really wanted this. He started applying when he was 25, so it was the first year, and the third year is when he got accepted. So what he did was, I think he started talking to mentors, seeing like how he can make his application better, talking to alumni that would go back home. This is what I did last year. What do you think should I do this year? And kept trying, and he came on the program last year and was ecstatic. So definitely you can apply as many times as you want. We will not, we do ask in the application, have you previously applied? But that's it. And you can apply as many times as you want. However, you can only do the program once. So if you get accepted and you complete the program, obviously you won't reapply. But yes, you can apply as many times as you want.
Thank you so much. One of the first ones to ask the question, can I reapply? 2017, I wanted to do it a second time, but unfortunately, you can only do it once. So, in terms of persons who don't meet the criteria, for example, are in 35, and are there other programs, offered by the U.S. Department of State that they can apply for, those persons who are above the ages of 35?
Yeah. So unfortunately, our program operates pretty independently of the other Department of State programs or other U.S. exchange programs. There's definitely a connection between like our program through embassies and other programs, but like our team and those involved in selecting candidates, we don't pass on any application information to anybody else. That's kind of protected information. We don't want to share your personal details or any of that sort of stuff with anybody that they didn't apply to. But yeah, I mean, if there's different areas of focus outside of like entrepreneurship, or you want to like focus more on like, different like areas, like if you want to focus on like women entrepreneurs, there's a program for that. Or there's a number of different exchange programs that I definitely do encourage you to like look on the U.S. Department of State website and check out other opportunities there. But unfortunately, if you apply to our program, the only people who see that information are the people reviewing those applications, and that's our team here at IREX, the embassies that are reviewing these applications that we've provided them after our first little bit of review, and then and then a number of our alumni who support the review process. But aside from that, we do encourage you to reapply, as Paulina says, but definitely refer to the U.S. Department of State website for exchange programs that might cater towards some other focus that you have.
I dropped the link to the IREX website. I also encourage people, if you do not fall,
Yes, definitely.
If you're not eligible for the YLAI program, IREX has other programs that also focus on different sectors, not just for entrepreneurs. So definitely, as Ian mentioned, you can visit the State Department site and also the IREX website that I just dropped in the chat.
Oh, thank you so very much. We do have someone who is above the age of 35, and she, of course, wanted to get that information, and she definitely says she will be checking out that link from IREX. So thank you very much, Anata, for sharing that. Now, in terms of the program itself, so persons who are not yet 25, let's say persons who may be 21 years old, because I do have persons who could keep contacting me every year, Michelle, when are they going to relax, the starting age? And so what the advice that I do give them is, what you can do is collect as much information as you can and make sure that you're ready for when you become of age. That's the main thing. So when you are 25, when you're going to turn 25, think of it as a birthday gift to yourself. You know that you're to turn 25 so that you can apply for this program. So what you need to do is to ensure that your application is as competitive as possible to ensure that you get selected. And once you do, it'll be a dream come true. It'll be an achievement for you for that long wait. Because I do have a young gentleman who has been waiting for quite a while to participate in the YLAI program. In the meantime, he is blowing up in the media, blowing up in the media. So I cannot wait for when it is his turn to finally, he gets hopefully. Um, Now, in terms of the YLAI network, because that's something else that was mentioned on the application page. For persons who either do not get selected, or even if you do get selected, the YLAI network is open to everyone. Okay, it really is. It's a network of like-minded change makers just like you. It's a diverse group of thousands want to be innovators. So I highly recommend, um, even though you may not get selected or even though you are selected, I highly recommend that you join the YLAI network. This is where all change makers, like I said, like you can converge and share information, best practices. We have a Facebook group that we, of course, communicate with each other and share everything that, we either who is, of course, interested in connecting with any like-minded individual within the region. Please, I recommend that you sign up for the YLAI network. Now, of course, we are coming to the end of our information session today with Paulina and with Ian. And before we close, I just wanted to a shout out to our 23 YLAI fellows who were selected from St. Lucia. For those of you who do not know, we actually do have fellows who were selected for YLAI 2023. So if you do not know their names, I'm going to share with you who they are at this point. So they are Miss Shireen Joseph. Shireen is a very young entrepreneur who is very avid about supporting and connecting and teaching and marketing. Social media marketer and consultant. So she was selected as part of the program. Also, we have Miss Krishna Sen Bryce. Miss Krishna Sen Bryce works in the agriculture and animal care sector. And Krishna, congratulations to you for being selected for the 2023 program. So we have Shireen Joseph of Blue Media Marketing, and we have I can't really pronounce the name of her business, so I'm not gonna try. But for those of you who know them, please shoot them a congratulatory message now that you know who they are. Next time I hear from them is when they return from their fellowship, because we're gonna have them on to share their experience with you. So that solidifies your application for 2024. So look out for that session after their fellowship is over. So Ian and Paulina, do you have any final words for us before we end?
No, I would just say thank you so much for this invitation, and I encourage everyone to apply if you're thinking about it. This is a great opportunity, opens a lot of doors. And if you have any questions, feel free to email us at apply.ylaifellowship@irex.org. And thank you so much for the invite, Michelle. I'm going to hop off.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And we really look forward to reviewing your applications. And you remember that deadline of February 15th. Start as early as possible. We want to make sure that you have enough time to complete the application. There's some short answers in there. So, don't get caught off guard last minute. But yeah, we're very excited for Shireen and Krishna to join us for this cohort. And yeah, that'll be taking place starting in May. But there's a lot of activity leading up to that. So be sure to follow us on all social media platforms. We're very active on Instagram and LinkedIn, Twitter, all of the above. So definitely give us a follow. Again, it's the YLAI Fellowship. Just search us. We've got a lot of people who are involved. And yeah, again, thank you, Michelle, for having us. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you again, Ian. And if you notice the link that was shared with you, it's about the all program for women. And I happen to be the program manager for all in St. Lucia. So for those of you who did not know, now you know. I actually have some all ladies in the chat here. Shireen is actually an alumni of the program. So this is another plus. So ladies and gents, we definitely encourage you to apply for the YLAI 2024 program. The links have been shared in the chat. Please share with your contacts, anybody who you know is eligible. Again, Ian, thank you so much from IREX for sharing with us the program. And we hope to see a bit more about you all. Of course, Young Leaders of the Americas Initiative Facebook page will be shared with you as well. So you can follow that page for updates on the different things that are happening. And you can follow the journey of the 2023 fellows as well. So I'm going to share that link here with you. Ian, again, thank you for joining us. And for those of you who continue to post them on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube, because we will be responding to your questions that you ask. So don't feel that they're not going to be answered. They will be. All you need to do is to post those questions into the chat and we will get back to them as soon as we can. And for the benefit who are not aware of the Academy for Women Entrepreneurs, it's open to women 18 years of age and over who are either looking to start a business or who are already in operation. So these are the basic criteria for the Academy for Women Entrepreneurs program. And for those of you who are thinking, is there anything for men? Yes, there is. Of course, in terms of the all program, that one is not for men. It is specifically for women. But men, you are not forgotten. You are not forgotten. You are not forgotten. The U.S. Department of State has a program for everyone. Okay. So the link was shared there, ylai.state. Go to the U.S. Department of State's website, which was posted in the chat, and you will be able to see the various programs that they have available for you. There is something for everyone. So here is the link for the the Young Leaders of the Americas Facebook. Please go ahead and join the network. I highly recommend that you do that. Join the network and understand that even though you may not get selected, even though some of us may not get selected, you can still connect with like-minded individuals just like you. You can. And you can share experiences and share best practices. Again, the application is open, it is live, and I advise you to apply. The deadline to apply is February 15th, so ensure that you apply as early as possible. If you are not too sure whether you are eligible, you can check out the eligibility section and where that is. But they are. You must be between the ages of 25, 35 years of age. You must be operating your business or your social venture for at least 2 years. You must have a valid passport. Okay, you must be eligible to receive a US J1 visa. A J1 visa is required for you to participate in this program. You cannot use your regular tourist visa for this. Does not apply in this case. You must also not be a US government employee, and you must not be a US citizen or a permanent resident of the United States. You must be very proficient in, of course, reading, writing, and speaking English, which, of course, here in St. Lucia, that is not a problem for us. So that is the main thing in terms of eligibility requirements. Now, in some cases, let me just address this aspect. If you are, right, if you are a business owner and you do not fit the age criteria, you're above the age of 35. Here is what you do. If you have executive members of your business, or if you have a co-founder who is within the age group, that co-founder can actually apply and participate on behalf of the company. It doesn't necessarily have to be the owner. So this is a potential that is open to you. So if you, the owner, just happens to be above 35, but one of your executive members or your co-founder is within the age of 25 to 35, then that person can apply and represent your business and participate in the fellowship. So that is the opportunity. That is, of course, if you do have persons who are working with you on the business. But if you're a sole proprietor, unfortunately, there are challenges, as I was. But thankfully, I was within the age and I was able to participate. But keep in mind that SLUDTERA will keep having sessions very similar to this so that you can, of course, learn more about the fellowship. We will be having an in-person networking session where we will be able to answer questions. You can get to meet with me so that I can share with you what to expect from the program, talk about how to prepare for your departure, and of course, taking part in that solution pitch competition. That is a wonderful aspect of the program. We prepare you for it with Find Your Voice. We prepare you for it. So for those of you who are watching, who have been tuning in, thank you again for coming. Please ensure that you share this information with persons who are eligible and who do you think would be interested in participating in this program, this wonderful program for young leaders, change makers. Okay, there's this slogan that is near and dear to my heart. It's called, "Don't wait for change, create it." Do not wait for change, create it. It means you are the entrepreneur. You are the problem solver. So you be the solution to that problem that everyone is highlighting. When you do that, you become the leader that you want everyone to see in you and that you can see in yourself. So I have been your host, Michelle Samuel of SLUDTERA with St. Lucians for YLAI. Again, thank you for joining. See you again for our next session. Look out on our page for the next event that we do plan to have. Thank you and have a good afternoon, everyone. Take care.
What do you need to transform your career goals into reality? You need the YLAI Network.
You guys are awesome.
I'm forever grateful for being a part of this network, which has changed my life and my confidence.
What is the YLAI Network? Your connection to an abundance of resources. There are so many valuable tools, such as online courses, training videos, toolkits, discussion guides, blogs, and workbooks. That is the YLAI Network, and it's all available at ylai.state.gov.
Very proud to be a part of this.
The YLAI Network gives members the means to grow as entrepreneurs and improve their communities.
This is a call to you, young leaders of Latin America, the Caribbean, and Canada. It's your chance to develop your skills, expand your business, and network with leaders and with your peers. It's a way for you to enhance your knowledge, your economic opportunities, and your future. When you join the YLAI Network, you'll get regular updates on new initiatives, opportunities, and information created specifically for young leaders. You can engage on social media and join important discussions that affect your community. You can use all of these digital resources to expand your entrepreneurial potential and create a brighter future. By joining the YLAI Network, you gain access to all the benefits. You can expand your skills and connect with fellow leaders working to create change in their communities. The YLAI Network empowers you to achieve and succeed. Don't wait for change. Create it. To learn more about the YLAI Network and to become a member, go to ylai.state.gov.